Hey guys, how's it going? And happy Friday. I hope you all are doing good. And here's my question to you. Now, not literally you necessarily, because I'm assuming I know where most of you stand on the Second Amendment who are watching this stream live. And shout out to all of you who watch on replay. But who cares about the 2A anymore? I think it's a very important question. And it's a question that's been on my mind quite a bit lately. When we think about politics, we think about elections. And then we think about we the people and the concept that politics have always been downstream from culture. Is the 2A the foremost culture issue for many people, for some people, or is it the primary issue for next to nobody? And when I say that, I mean statistically. And I'm not sure, but I do have some thoughts on it. And I'm definitely interested in hearing all of your feedback. And I know I'm not the only one, and I don't want you to think that you're the only one. But man, oh man, I look at the fact that we're in a big election year right now. They say this every single time. This is the biggest election of your lifetime. I don't know if it's true or not because they literally say it every single election. I can remember back in the 80s and 90s, they were saying it's the biggest election of all time. And it seems like elections just keep becoming more and more important and more questioned and questionable, and just keep pissing more and more people off every time it goes by. And I think I know why, actually. And we're going to discuss that tonight a little bit. But before we do, I want to thank all of you for the many ways you help support the channel. Thanks for all of you who are YouTube channel members. You get some extra emojis in the chat. So if you're a paying member or you were gifted a membership, make sure you check out those emojis. You guys have access to a few extra ones there. I also put out extra content for my YouTube channel members, as well as Patreon supporters, as well as supporters over on Locals. Now, Locals is a different site, censorship free. I'm going to be doing a live stream each and every Saturday, including tomorrow night over there, where we touch guns and we do all kinds of stuff that we just can't do on this platform. So definitely go over there. I post awesome deals throughout the week, especially some today and literally every day. So if you guys are looking for cool stuff, make sure you're constantly checking out my Locals. Also, super chats. Thanks for those who leave super chats while I'm live here. I will read each one of those, and you guys are my sponsors. So thank you, because it's not free for me to do this channel. I have to come to my shop and forgo, doing other things where I could make money. So thank you to all of you who do help financially support. Also, check out Myriad Social. The link's down in the description. It's a really cool site. I post over there on a consistent basis. Make sure you go over and check it out. You don't need to be a member, but you can join and do a friend's request, and I'll friend you back, and you guys can post your own stuff. Now, Myriad Social isn't just censorship-free. It's actually uncensorable. This is where I would like to see the whole internet go. People tend to be a little reluctant to new things, but just go check out Myriad Social. It's a newer site, and it's on the blockchain. So it's actually not housed on anybody's server specifically. So the CEO of Myriad could not actually delete your post, which is pretty darn cool. You can set up different networks from within there. You can host your own instance of Myriad, or you can just join like as a member and follow my page and see the good deals that I post there. On my deals timeline, I post other content, just fun content, shooting guns and whatnot. I also have an events timeline that lets you guys know about events that I think might interest you and stuff that I'm going to. So definitely check out those alternate platforms. We got Locals. We've got Myriad Social. The reason why I'm shouting out like 3 different ones is because they're not all the same. There's different purposes, but hey, other sites that used to fill these roles, they're doing more putting people in timeouts and censoring and deleting stuff and kicking people off than they're letting you even express yourself. So I'd like to see more patriotic minded people talk about what they want to talk about. And that's what I'm doing on these other sites, including that big green site that YouTube doesn't like. And it rhymes with fumble. And the link to that is down in the description as well. We got to make the YouTube think that we're talking about football over here. So maybe they'll slack off on the stream just a little bit. Also, Blackout Coffee. I have an awesome coupon code, and if you've not used it yet, reserve that because there's even a better deal going on right now. The code's down in the description. My link to Blackout Coffee is down in the description. And right now, they have a deal where you buy 2 bags and you get 1 free, which is a stellar deal. So if you add like 3 1-pound bags or 3 packages of K-Cups or tea or hot chocolate, whatever it is, put it in there. Put it in there in groups of 3, and then that code, it's followed right behind my link in the description. Using my link helps support the channel, obviously, and I appreciate those of you that would take that time. Even if you're a regular customer and you're going on there on a regular basis, if you remember me and come back and use my Blackout Coffee link, you can be a channel sponsor, and I really do appreciate. Not a lot of you do, but those of you who do, thank you, and it does all add up. But buy 2, get 1 free is like one of their best sales they offer. And definitely check out that code and the link down in the description for Blackout. And I'm definitely going to get some more. I got to throw a little Blackout Coffee advertisement in there, but I'm going to start posting more of the cat memes because I know you guys all like those. And I did take a post yesterday. I've been trying to post like a dog or cat or ducks meme every day because, hey, they're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. And it's crazy what this country's gone to. This country's literally gone insane if you think about it. I'm glad for cool people like all of you because, wow, there's like some crazy stuff out there, isn't there? Right, Ron Wayne, Rudy Fenney, Barney Brady, Jane Locke, Harry Grimley. I see Dale Konya in the chat. Nice to see all of you guys. But yeah, definitely check out that deal going on. And I went to a 2A rally yesterday, and I posted some pictures when I was there. I should have taken more pictures, right, Jane? I went and hung out with the lovely Jane Locke. She was actually my chauffeur. Due to posting all these spicy cat memes, I needed a guarded vehicle. It's kind of similar to what they call the Beast, right, that the president's in, but just a little less. Now, you guys think I'm joking. I'm joking a little bit, but not much. See, if you know anything about Jane and what her past business was, she actually made armored vehicles. And she can tell you guys as little or as much as she wants in the chat tonight because I do see her there. What's up, Jane? But look, Jane was my chauffeur because, hey, I've been posting some spicy cat memes. And you never know, right? People might be after me a little bit. Maybe a little bit more than a little bit, but that's okay. Because I was with Jane and I was in good hands. And she drove me to the rally. So that was awesome. But I posted pictures from the rallies, what I was getting at, with a couple legislators, with my good friend. He goes by Crazy Heathen here on YouTube. His name's Phil. He's one of the guys that's like at all of the 2A rallies. And I noticed that like going to a 2A rally with real people is like way less popular on YouTube than cat memes. So I get it. I'll post more cat memes and less actually like going out in the real world and getting stuff done because I've realized like people are cooked right now. People like would way rather see like, and I get it. You do need a laugh. And I'm telling you guys the truth. Like, I understand it. Like getting a little laugh off a funny cat meme is probably way more productive right now than actually like taking a day off work and going to a Second Amendment rally and paying for gas and paying to park and doing all that kind of stuff. I see Flying Rich. What's happening, man? How you doing? Thank you for the super chat. He says, see you in a few weeks. And I should have arrangements made by now, but the answer is I don't know. Now it might get to the point where my possibilities, where I can't go just due to the fact that I run out of time, but I don't know, man. I'm trying to get money together. I have some expenses concerning my business that I have to pay for because that's what literally like, feeds my family and all of that. And I don't know, man. I don't know. There's an event he's talking about in the South that I've gone to each of the last 4 years now, and I'd like to go. We'll see. I don't know for sure, but I have to figure it out in the next day or two, or I'm just going to run out of time. So I know that wasn't an answer to your question, but it was the truth. But nice to see you, Rich. And shout out to the Flying Rich channel as well. Rudy Fenney, what's happening, man? Thank you for being a channel member and for another generous super chat. Hopefully you finally got some stuff in the mail. I know Linda put a few extra things in there. If you didn't, it should be there like any day now, you and QD. I promised you guys I'd send you some stuff, and it should be like, it's in the mail, right, as the saying goes. But hopefully you got some cool stuff, man. And thank you. I really appreciate your support. And I don't see a message, so maybe you're just contributing and being a sponsor of tonight's show. If not, I'll try to find your message if it just got cut off. Dale coming in. Wow, with a member for 40 months. That's a long time, man. I appreciate so much support for such a long time. And I know that's been a burden on you for a long time. And he's saying his Social Security disability was approved today. All right, man. I don't want to, I know we've talked personally about this, and I don't know how much you want to share with the public, but we'll just say it's been a battle, right? And it's been a struggle. And good to hear that. Maybe once you get back on your feet, you'll have a little more pew money and some ammo and all that kind of fun stuff, or whatever it is that you want to do, Mateo came in with a 357 super chat. I'm wondering if I have some 357 Magnum around here. I know I do. I know I have some RPM. We'll see if we can find some of that. Maybe we'll talk about ammo a little bit tonight after I'm done ranting about how much everybody sucks with the 2A lately. And I'm super nervous about these elections, actually. Whoa. Yeah, we'll talk about that in just a minute. But thank you for all of the work you do, and I definitely appreciate it. The guy's like a financial supporter on my locals, YouTube channel member, and other things, and literally helps the channel a ton for free behind the scenes. So huge shout out, and thank you to Mateo, and I really appreciate you, man. So I was at a 2A rally in Michigan yesterday. Make sure you chime in the chat or replay if you guys were there, because there was a number of you who came up and was like, hey, how's it going, man? And you guys were awesome. I didn't meet one person there that wasn't cool as heck, right? So I got to hang out with some real regular people, which that's the best kind of people that are regular and that are real. And you guys are real people too. I'd like to be able to meet all of you guys face to face, and some of you I have, right? So the people were cool there, man. I also talked to 5 or 6, I'll go through their names in a minute. You guys can count for me, legislators that were there. My senator was there, and I think about 5 state representatives. And I basically had a message for all of them that we'll talk about in just a few minutes here. You guys live in a lot of different states. Let me know in the chat where you guys live, actually. I'm kind of curious. I don't want your address, nothing like that. This is a public forum, but let me know what states you all are in. And then as we talk about this little topic here, let me know how it is in your state. So I'm going to give you guys a little compare and contrast of 2 things that are on the ballot. And yes, the Second Amendment is on the ballot right now. It's always on the ballot, unfortunately. Now, I don't even want to talk about politics, really. I kind of I don't even like politics at all. I know some really good people who happen to be local politicians. Man, once we get to the federal level, there's maybe 5 or something total out of the 535 in the 2 chambers of the U.S. Congress. There might be 5 or maybe a little more than that are actually decent. You know what I'm saying? But on the local level, there can be some good people who happen to be politicians that are fighting the good fight. And that's true. I always talk about my favorite state representative, Jamie Thompson. She's the realest person you've ever met, in the world. And she's totally awesome, whether she's just Jamie or whether she's representative. I should call her representative on here because, that's what you should call her. But I like to just call her Jamie, actually, because that's much more of a compliment coming from me, who I generally don't like politicians at all. So there are some good ones, and the good ones that are out there, whether you live in Michigan or wherever you live, you need to get behind them because they're under attack and they're going through hell right now. And since I don't like politics, yes, I was just up at my state capitol again yesterday. Why? Because I don't like politics. And we need the people to win this culture war, to get it to the point where the Second Amendment is above politics. Everything that's in the Bill of Rights and in the Constitution should be above politics. Those are the supreme law of the land. And for those people who like Supreme Court precedent, we should look to very early Supreme Court precedent from over 200 years ago. The case was called Marbury v. Madison, and it did a lot. It actually ended up making the court much more powerful than it was meant to be, than it was at that time. But a lot of things have changed if you look at how this country's set up. If you look at who can vote, if you look how senators are elected, if you look at just so many things, there's a lot that's changed in this country, and it seems like every time it changes, it gets a little bit worse. But in Marbury v. Madison, it said all laws that are repugnant to the Constitution, those are void. So we have the Constitution. The first 10 amendments are called the Bill of Rights. Those get incorporated therein and become part of the Constitution. Now, the Constitution says so itself, that it's the supreme law of the land. So check. And this is good stuff for you to remind your friends of. I know a lot of you guys know this stuff, but we have to remind our friends and our family. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land in the United States of America. Check. And that's a good thing, because our Constitution is a good one, and our Bill of Rights are good. Once you get much past that, things have been going downhill since, in my opinion, quite frankly. But the Second Amendment, the second time that this Constitution was amended, a Constitution of this republic that was supposed to only operate at the consent of the governed, and the only reason the government would be allowed to exist at all is to protect your natural rights. Declaration of Independence, also a beautiful document. All men are created equal, and they're endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights. And among these, not limited to, but among these, are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that's a beautiful thing. And if you literally have that, like, what more could you possibly want? And then it goes on to say that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. And what's really frustrating me, and it has to be frustrating you guys, so I'm just letting you know you're not alone, is people are just consenting by just doing nothing and not even caring anymore. Second time the Constitution was amended, meaning this is the supreme law of the land, a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state. I love it because it tells you why right there. Like, who doesn't want to be secure? And who doesn't want to be secure living in a free state? You would think everybody would want that. I know that you do. Any sane person, like, literally think about this. If you have a government that's literally there to protect your natural rights that were endowed by your creator, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That would mean that if there was any law, look, I don't mean like a little bit of gun control. I don't mean a lot of gun control. Let's go even smaller than a little bit. If there were to be a scintilla of gun control, that would be completely repugnant to the Constitution and therefore void. That's what Marbury v. Madison said. That's a court case. Everybody says, well, maybe the Supreme Court will save us someday. And look, the Bruin case, great, good news. Heller, well, there was the poison pill we talked about a lot last week that Scalia slipped in there on us. The whole in common use and particularly dangerous, but overall, Heller also a win. Dude, we got the biggest win you could ever have for the Second Amendment, for all natural rights, and for the United States Bill of Rights back in like 1800 with Marbury v. Madison. Well, what's changed? The pieces of paper haven't changed. The Marbury v. Madison decision still says exactly the same as it did then. It's still preserved in the archives under thick glass. The Bill of Rights still says exactly the same thing as it did when it was written in 1789 and ratified in 1791. Nothing's changed there either. But we literally go from the supreme law of the land saying shall not be infringed. It's like literally so pointed and so beautiful, and that's why it is so beautiful, because it's so short and it's so concise that it couldn't possibly be twisted or perverted around, except for that evil people do evil things. And this is always going to be and always has been a battle of good versus evil. If you think about it, that's all any of this has ever been about, and all any of this on this earth is ever going to be about. People that are evil and hate the United States of America have been trying to undermine that document, well, since the day it was written, since before it was written, actually. And there were times in this country where there were enough people standing behind that document, not because they loved pieces of paper inherently, but because they loved they loved a government that was to run at the consent of the governed, and people would say almost unanimously at certain points in this country that you want to come after our guns. I was talking to Michigan Representative Jim DeSantis yesterday. He brought his dogs and he was cool. People were petting his dogs and stuff, but he was sitting there talking to a lady that came up to him and was talking about the Revolutionary War. Jim DeSantis is actually a very pro Second Amendment rep. And if you know who he is and you're in his district and you're voting for the Second Amendment, I suggest you get behind the man because he's as good as it gets in Lansing, Michigan on the Second Amendment. And I was standing right there and he's like, hey, he could probably tell you more about this than me. But I was just standing there. We were talking. And he goes, but the founding of this country, literally like the shots. They say the shot heard around the world. Massachusetts, Concord Bridge and Lexington Green. The famous ride of Paul Revere. The Redcoats are coming. The Redcoats are coming. Because remember, all of these founding fathers, all of these colonists, they were still legally and rightfully loyal British subjects. So it wasn't really the British are coming because they were actually legally Brits too, right? The Redcoats are coming. British military. The British, the East India Trading Companies, right? The Dutch East India Trading Company, the multitudes of East India Trading Companies, the hither swarms, as it talks about in the Declaration, of government agents, of jackboots. Sound familiar? Of course it's familiar. It's always been a battle of good versus evil, and it's more familiar now, unfortunately, than it was even familiar back then. And there was the Boston Tea Party. There was the tax on the tea. There was taxation without representation. There's a whole list. I've read them many times from the Declaration of Independence, and maybe we can today if you want me to again. But ultimately, what made it pop off? Because the founding fathers before that were sending letters. That's why the First Amendment protects your right to a redress of grievance. You're allowed to tell your government when you have a grievance against them. You're allowed to go stand in front of your state capitol, which me and maybe less than 200 people total out of a state of 10 million people did yesterday. But the people that were there were really good people, and I was glad to see you guys there. 200 people out of 10 million people. You're allowed to stand in front of your capitol and peacefully protest. And that's what the founding fathers have been doing for decades, actually. But what made it turn hot, as Michigan Representative Jim DeSantis was saying, as he was telling this woman that had walked up to him to say hi, they were coming for their musket balls. They were coming for their gunpowder. They were coming for their munitions. See, most of the time, the average man that was in the militia, right, because people actually met up in town square or in the woods or wherever and drilled and were getting ready to fight off the biggest military industrial complex of that time, the biggest Navy, the biggest everything. People like to look at the United States as the United States is the military superpower of the world. Not even close. The position the U.S. has right now isn't crap compared to the position that the Brits had at that time. Now it helps us, and it does too. You can never undermine this or dismiss this, that they were fighting the French and other countries at the same time. But look, when somebody finally shot, they had put kind of a decoy up of this is where we have our musket balls and our powder. And they kind of did a little switcheroo, right? Are you guys familiar with the story? Nobody knows exactly who fired that first shot. There was folklore that had started within a couple hours of that first battle of who technically fired that first shot. But I think at this point, it's fair to say nobody really knows who did. But the colonists knew at that time that if the Brits seized their munitions, their magazine, it's called. A magazine is a place where you keep ammunition. We still refer to magazines today. Just on YouTube, 29 rounds and smaller, because that's where we are. That's what literally kicked off the Revolutionary War. A lot of people think magically on July 4th, 1776 is when the shot that was heard around the world went off, and they think that's when the bloody battle started. But no, they had actually been fighting for over a year at that time. Now, there was the so-called Boston Massacre, which wasn't exactly that, but we did have Adams actually representing the Brits. That's how fair and legal our justice system would be. Our justice system that was supposed to be overseen by a blindfolded woman. Blindfolded. So it doesn't matter if you're rich or well-connected, or if you're poor and a loner, or whether your speech is popular or unpopular, or whether your firearms in common use or not. And look, Heller was a big victory, but it was a huge loss because we had the conservative majority opinion written by Antonin Scalia saying, well, it doesn't protect weapons unless they're in common use. And that's BS. That's not justice. That's not copacetic with shall not be infringed. That's not blindfolded. With a blindfolded lady with a set of scales. Now, how easy could you overcome that? Actually, pretty darn easy. How vulnerable would a woman be with blindfolded, holding a set of scales you'd trample over in 2 seconds? That's why Lady Justice doesn't just yield a set of scales in one hand, but she yields a sword in the other hand, willing to fight to the death, and with a sword. Literally and figuratively both, like literally, and you can look at the sword figuratively. The Bible talks about sell your cloak and buy a sword. Lady Justice, blindfolded with a set of scales and a sword. And now it's been delegated down to, as Clarence Thomas said, he said this a few years ago, he's sick and tired of the Second Amendment being treated as a second-class right. Clarence Thomas has written some of the best opinions on the Second Amendment and other things in our lifetime. He's probably one of the more based in reality and based in the Constitution that we have on the court. But even he's not perfect. But this is an old man we're talking about here. Samuel Alito has been known to be very good on the Second Amendment. He's about as old. Look, all of these Supreme Court justices, no matter how great they are or aren't, they do what every human being does. They're born, they live, and then they die. Think about this. We had the great General George Washington. We had the great Benjamin Franklin and James Madison and Alexander Hamilton. And you could say Aaron Burr, even though he didn't survive quite so long. But you can go through the founding fathers. John Hancock, everyone knows his name. He was the biggest and boldest to sign right there in the middle. Thomas Jefferson. All of them did a lot for this country. They did a hell of a lot for this country. Probably more than anybody you'll ever meet in your lifetime, quite frankly. Like, definitely. But they got old. Some of them not as old as others. But even the oldest ones got old and then they died. And these documents are still there. But who's willing to actually, fight for them? Who's willing to actually assemble? Who's willing to peacefully fight for them? Who's willing to peacefully fight for them by calling your local public servants as much as possible? Your state rep, your state senator, your city council, your county board of commissioners. Look, cities are banning guns throughout the country. In Tennessee, they're going after banning guns in the city of Memphis right now. In Detroit, literally, there was an incident that happened after the Lions game at the market. And the family's on there. I feel terrible for the family, but look, they're not going to prosecute the guy because it was self-defense, wanting to take away guns. We've had this whole movement to take away guns in the city of Detroit, Michigan. Right? So this stuff happens on the local level, city level, county level, village level, township level. It truly does. And for anyone that doesn't know about that or doesn't think I'm telling the truth, it's probably because, well, that's exactly where they want you, actually, where you have no idea what the heck they're doing. So they can just do whatever the heck they want. Now, we get ourselves to a point right now where we've had great people in the past and we have currently great people right now. Not that any person, in my opinion, is particularly great. I believe all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. And anyone that thinks there's some type of deity or demigod, that's the person you want to run away from, not embrace. Don't embrace anybody who thinks that they're too good or that even really thinks that they're that good at all, because I assure you they're not. Nobody is, including the founding fathers. But some are certainly less worse than others. And by people standards, we've had some great people. We've had some great people in the past, and we do now. And we have tens of thousands. Well, literally, just on the federal level alone, we have 20-something thousand federal gun control laws, regulations, CFRs, rules, right, by the ATF and others that have full force and effective law. How far have we gone? I believe Marbury v. Madison was 1802. And if I'm off, I'm not off by much. Second Amendment became the supreme law of the land in 1791. Well, back then you couldn't have any gun control laws at all, actually, because the Second Amendment meant what it said and said what it meant, because the people that wrote it down and the people that consented to be governed by that current government agreed with it, because that's what they decided on. Then the Supreme Court kind of came in and shored that up and said all laws repugnant to the Constitution, those are void, obviously. The only laws that can be legal laws in the United States are constitutional laws. And when you say shall not be infringed, the right to keep and bear arms, people think of guns first and foremost, which is fine, but it's not just guns, it's all arms. Look, you have the natural right to protect yourself. You look at the Declaration of Independence, right? Talks about natural rights. You look at the Second Amendment, which does not grant you any rights. It tells the government, don't tread on me, shall not be infringed. The right to keep and bear arms. Look, these were very smart people, very eloquent people. Heck, the English language is going out of fashion amongst English-speaking Americans now. So many people speaking like they literally speak in real life now, like how they text on their phones, and it's getting to be quite annoying. I hope none of you do that. And if you do, it's getting to be quite annoying, okay? But look, they had words, they had eloquent words. These were educated people that pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. That's what they wrote before they signed the Declaration. A lot of these people had fortunes. If they wanted to, they knew how to write down, the right to keep and bear some arms shall not be infringed. If they wanted to write down, you have the right to own a musket, they would have written down, you have the right to own a musket. If they would have wanted it to say, you have the right to own a knife and a musket, but no more than 10 musket balls and no more than a couple 100 grains of powder, they could have written all of that if they wanted to, obviously. But they didn't want to write that down, and that was not the contract with the American people. That is not what this country was founded upon. This country was founded upon that the Brits were being a tyrannical government and that we were going to have a republic if we can keep it. That's what Ben Franklin said. And the Brits came with their guns and we grabbed our guns and people shot at each other. And that's putting it very briefly. It was a lot uglier than that. And war is ugly and I hate war. But the Bible says there's times for peace and there's times for war. And sometimes you have to fight. And they knew they had to stand together. They were going to hang separately. And they knew that all political power comes from the barrel of a gun. And they fought like hell. And I believe the divine providence that the founding fathers signed their names to, the Declaration of Independence. They said, look, we've got enough colonists on our side. We've got God on our side. And with the divine providence, we can do this. Not like maybe we kind of sort of want to, but we'll either do this or we'll die. And they all would have died. And that's capital punishment. Think about it. They talk about this insurrection. J6. Huh. You want to talk about an insurrection? That's literally what that was. That took place in Massachusetts. When the Brits were coming for the colonist powder. And that's literally how this country was formed. And now we find ourselves with two political parties that actually matter when it comes to getting people elected on the federal level, with few exceptions, but when it comes to president, certainly. And when I say there's only two parties that matter, I don't mean that people don't matter if you're part of the other parties. Like, shout out to all of you that are. I totally get it, and you'll see if you haven't hit the thumbs down yet. Just hold on a second. You'll see where I'm at with this. I think it's frustrating. I think it's a damn shame that we're sitting here, and this is serious stuff. We're talking about natural rights to speak, to redress the government of grievances, to peaceably assemble, to worship, or quite frankly, not worship as you choose, to have a fair trial, to not be subject to cruel and unusual punishment, the right to keep and bear arms, which is necessary for the security of a free state. All of this has gotten relegated now to this gang warfare of blue versus red. You guys notice that? And it sucks so bad that a lot of people don't want to engage in it. And I understand why, because it does suck that bad. But the people, we the people, look, I think if we had 300 million people that thought just like me and just like you, we'd be doing just fine, actually. So keep in mind, I am preaching to the choir, but that's okay, though. The choir needs a good servant, too. Because everyone in the choir, even the front row of the choir, they're sinners too, and that's why they're at church. Let's shift that to this analogy. Look, you guys get it more than most people do, but we find ourselves in the shape we're in because people pretty much suck. Is what it really, really comes down to if you think about it. And we're relegated to where we have a camel law. Just think about this for a minute. You're going to have two choices here in November. Are you excited? Now, I know some of you are, but are you really excited? And if you're excited, that's awesome. Like, I'm not taking anything away from you. We have camel law. And look, when I say this stuff, I say it just because it's true. How are you supposed to pronounce her name? Who knows? She's changed the way. She's changed the way that she pronounces her name more times than I can count. I just say it's Camilla, like the dromedary, because, I don't know, just in my opinion, I look at her and she kind of looks like a camel a little bit to me. Look, these people change their names so much, okay? What color are they? Who knows? Have no clue. Actually, I don't know. I'm not doing the Trump saying I couldn't care less. Well, no, I do care when it comes to stuff like this. When somebody literally comes up there, oh, I'm from here. I'm from there. I'm from everywhere. Did you hear her turn on her Latina accent the other day? Have you heard her turn on her black accent when she comes to Detroit? Have you looked at her when she's in other, we'll just say, lighter areas, how she talks like she's white? She's an Indian? Well, that was old news. Now she's this. Now, I mean, these people are literally crazy. Heard her speak the other day. She was at the debate, and she says, now, I'm not going to let the other one off the hook either, so hold on, guys. Don't get too happy. I told you both of them suck, but hold on a minute. Blue versus red, which one sucks less? And that's where we have to look forward to. I'm looking so forward to getting real excited about one that sucks a little bit less. Oh, man, isn't that going to be awesome? I can't wait until the day where I can be like, well, a little gun control, I guess, is a little bit less worse than a lot. I mean, who's excited about that? Who's excited about, well, I'll take a little gun control instead of a lot. when we truly believe like shall not be infringed, literally, I'm not going to tell anybody how to vote tonight. I'm not going to tell you how I'm voting either. I'm just talking about the principle behind these things. I mean, look at what's going on here. She says she's a gun owner. Okay. She's a gun owner, she said in the debate. Then she gets to talking in an interview recently, and she says somebody breaks into her house, they're going to wind up getting shot. Now, hold on a minute, though. This is somebody who, via red flag laws and gun bans and all this stuff, she wants it to where, trust me, look, they're coming for all your guns. They passed all that gun control in Michigan, and we have a very prominent senator, okay, in Michigan that just came out publicly and said, we need way more gun control. It wasn't enough. We're just getting started. It's the same thing with her. It's the same thing with all of these. Rules for thee, not for me, is what they say. And it is, too. It's like literally in this comic book villain type way. If you think about it. No, like literally watch her. She'll sit and cackle at you. Look, when she was the Attorney General of California, she devised a scheme, and it was a very effective scheme that they actually used successfully to go door to door and confiscate people's guns with strategic lists. She helped develop the system. Of course she has the system. The system is this. As long as we provide these idiots, that's how they look at all of us. And they're not actually wrong, right? Just think about it. I'm saying we the people, not like smart people that are in the chat right here who are saying like super like intelligent things. So one more time, not literally you guys, but just you and like the 10 dumb people, you know, just think about it. You're outnumbered like 10-1 everywhere you go, right? When it comes to a lot of this real easy to understand stuff. They're just sitting there laughing at me like, oh, we'll give all these idiots a little bit of bread and a little bit of circuses, and they'll be good for a while. That's how the Roman Empire did things, right? I mean, I can't wait. Soon we'll have animals fighting in these big things. I don't like animals fighting, actually, but I can't wait for us to get to the epitome of the fall of the Roman Empire where there's animals fighting in front of people in big arenas, and then like the person has to fight off the whatever. And I mean, the Bible talks about this stuff. I mean, this has all happened before. There's nothing new under the sun. And they're sitting there literally just laughing at us right now. And then they say, oh, well, by her saying that she's going to defend her house, or they're going to get shot, was her quote, if they come into her house and break in. She started soaring in the polls again. It's like, what the heck? Just remember this. Hitler believed in guns, and his troops were all well armed with guns, so they took them away from the citizens. The Venezuelans, when they went door to door and took it from their citizens, their military, we think of people like Maduro and Chavez and others, they were very well armed. Stalin loved guns, actually. So did Mao. Mao said all political power comes from the barrel of a gun. Why is this even making the news? Like, I think it's insane. Oh, did you hear? Kamala loves guns, and she owns. Of course she loves guns. All tyrants love guns. Obviously. It's pretty hard to put somebody on a train and say, you want to go for a train ride? Do you want to go look at an oven? No, thank you, ma'am. I'd rather not go. Or no, thank you, sir. Right? No, thank you, sir. I'd rather not go to the... And then you look around and there's a gun pointed at you. And then it's like, whatever, I guess. I don't know. It literally almost drives me crazy at this point thinking that this is actually news to people. Can you believe that? People are literally going around like, oh gosh, can you believe it? Kamala Harris loves guns. Of course she loves guns, obviously. All tyrants love weapons. The founding fathers knew that. That's why they wrote, shall not be infringed, because it was necessary to the security of a free state. A well-regulated militia was necessary to the security of a free state. But here's the crazy part. Everyone wants to tap out and be like, well, hold on a minute. This is so stupid, because I've just got done explaining how stupid all of this is. And it is, actually. Like, if you're sitting here thinking to yourself, this is ridiculous, that I'm even having to listen to this guy right now. Yeah, duh. But it's true, though, and we need to think about this. And I'm hoping I can spawn some ideas that you can relay it to some of your friends and family and have productive conversations about this topic, because this stuff's dead serious. And the Second Amendment is being politicized like it's never been politicized before. And if people think a Supreme Court can save you, I got something else to tell you. Let's go back to that Marbury v. Madison again. All laws that are repugnant to the Constitution are void. So if one Supreme Court case was enough to keep their hands off of our guns and all of our arms, there's many knife laws that are unconstitutional in this country. It's unconstitutional that you can't just go buy a tank or a fighter jet or whatever, right? I say whatever, meaning like anything, obviously. It's ridiculous. But it's political, and there's these elections coming up, and these elections are like the stupidest thing ever, like for the most part. Now, again, focus on local government, and then you're going to find some good people. I hope you can. Not all of you, though. Unfortunately, some of you that live in big cities, your whole city council, all the way up to your state rep and senator, and every last one of them, all the way up to the governor, are all a bunch of tyrannical jackboots. I know that's true. That's why I'm glad that you guys educate me, because I had no idea how that worked as much. Like, I knew kind of, but well, people like my friend Red that I see here, you know, he can tell you guys all about that. Somebody who just wants the government to leave him alone. Like, I would never speak for somebody, but I know I can speak for him there. He just wants to be left alone. Just leave me alone. I'll take my natural rights, and you all can just leave me the heck alone, right? But no, some of you guys live in places where there's nobody good to vote for. Some of you guys do have good people, and you need to have their back. And you need to stop being blind about this blue-red gang warfare thing that's going on here, because that's not always the answer either. I'm going to read a couple chats, and then I'm going to talk about the Republicans for a minute. And look, the Democrats, I'll tell you this before I even keep going, they're worse. They're way worse, to a point. Collectively, they're worse. The only good ones I find do happen to be Republicans. But if anyone thinks they're innocent, and anyone thinks that this Republican Party versus Democrat Party is going to protect our Second Amendment, I'm sorry, but no. Like, not at all, actually. Fun to learn, channel member, and a super chat. Thanks for the support. I appreciate it, man. He says, keep up the great deals. Thank you for all you do for the 2A. Yeah, guys, make sure you're checking out that locals community, that Myriad Social. I'm telling you guys, I'm posting some good stuff over there. We'll just call it stuff for now, right? Trying to help you guys out, and you guys can also help support the channel financially, like totally for free as well. So thank you for the support, Fun to Learn. And I'm glad you like the deals I'm posting, because some of them are awesome. Wild Bill, Ohio. Ooh, make sure your animals are in good order, buddy. Look, I'm in Michigan. My daughter was born in Ohio, you know. Ohio is always going to be a very special place. I mean, wow. Talk about two special ladies, my wife, my daughter. I almost lost my wife in that hospital in Ohio. Didn't know if my daughter was going to make it. We need to take her by emergency C-section, they said, right now. Or they'll both die. You know what I mean? I have good memories of Ohio, but, you know, it was pretty stressful for a little bit there. Take her right now or they'll both die. Take her right now and hopefully one or both of them lives, that kind of thing. Watched my daughter pulled out in a beautiful hospital in the beautiful state of Ohio. She weighed 2 pounds, 3 ounces. There's a picture of her with this wedding ring right here. I know she's probably asleep, but if my beautiful wife's watching, I love you a lot, like a real lot. And look, like this wedding ring, there's a picture of my daughter with this one all over her hand, all the way up her arm. She was beautiful then, and she is now. They pull her out. I hear her just make this little kind of squeak, just. And then I seriously hear like, I'm like, what's that? It's like, well, now your wife's vitals are flatlining. They're both like super healthy now, super beautiful, and like awesome. So everything ended up being a good story. And there's my little story about the state of Ohio. Wild Bill, 7.62. That's a good caliber. 7.62 by 39 is what I'm going to lean into just a little more there. But 7.62 NATO, 7.62 by 54R. I like 7.62 by 25, though. The Tokarev round, that's awesome. 7.62 by 38. Okay, think about that. Let me know if anyone likes the 7.62 by 38. Or if you know what gun is known to shoot it. There might be more than one gun that shoots it, but probably not. And all the other 7.62s. Thank you for the super chat. St. Vicari, a longtime channel member. And a generous super chat. Thank you, man. $20. I appreciate it. He says, Trump was in New York earlier this week. He said something very real. He said that the percentage of gun owners that vote is very low. We need to change that, bro. I know, man. And it helped me think of how to do this. Because here's the thing. There's two ways to look at this. And I want you all to chime in. I read the whole chat last week. I even saw, what were their names now? Space Gat, Hipster, and EV3 Dale going at it. Look, I think they made right in the end, and they're cool, but they were going at it. Look, I told you guys, I read the whole chat, right? I'll read this one again as well. There's just a few more of you than me watching right now. So there's a couple ways to look at this. Is it the gun owners and Second Amendment supporters aren't voting because they're all just like the biggest lazy POSs ever? Like, I'm not accusing you guys of this or the community. I'm asking a question. Is it either that, or do they not have anybody who they truly believe will stand up for the Second Amendment? Do they feel disenchanted? Do they feel disenfranchised? And I'm not telling any of you you should feel disenfranchised. I'm not telling you to vote, not to vote. That's periphery of this, but that's not what I'm actually talking about. What do you guys think it is? Are gun owners just that lazy and worthless? No, not you guys here, but just collectively, right? Look, there's more guns in this country than people. They say there's 100 million gun owners in this country. Yeah, if we can stand at all, like other organizations. And I'm going to talk about these two rallies in Lansing that happened back-to-back days in just a minute. See, I teased it earlier. I get back around to my thoughts eventually. It might take me 45 minutes of going off on a tangent, but I'll get back. I don't know. What is it? People are just too stupid and lazy, or do they not have anything worth voting for? And there might be a third option or like 10 other options too, but I've kind of narrowed it down to those two. Thank you for the super chat. I'm going to see if you guys have any magical answers on how to solve that problem, because it's a problem that needs solved. Do we need to actually get some real candidates in there who are like, shall not be infringed? Look, I was talking to some good 2A defending reps in Michigan yesterday. Back to Jim DeSanta again. He said, yeah, I get back in office, I'm going to start repealing that gun control on day one if the Republicans get the majority again. I mean, he'll still submit the bills regardless, he said, but they won't get the light of day unless you get enough Second Amendment supporters in the Michigan House of Representatives elected, where they will demand that they get passed through committee, brought to the floor. Do we need candidates that actually believe in shall not be infringed and wouldn't even consider passing a new gun control law? But that's not even enough at this point, that on day one are going to start repealing Is that what it's going to take to where people will actually want to get out and vote? Or is most of the gun community just lazy, POS, whatever, and just wants to lay there and just, I don't know, like watch their country fall apart? You guys tell me. I have a feeling it's a bit of both, like, quite frankly, but where do you think, where's it hanging the balance? Patrick Fellers, channel member, frequent super chatter. Thanks, man. I appreciate the support. And he's a local supporter too. Thank you. He says, we find ourselves in this predicament because too many people have become vaporous, spoiled, self-serving pawns for the system. I know, man. Like, there's just this thing with the human species where so many people just want to be led around. They like to be ruled over. They like to be told what to do. They like to have like a limit to everything in their life. Maybe that's the way people are supposed to be, and I'm just the oddball or the reject. I do reject that though, and I don't like that. But that does seem to be the case in many instances, doesn't it? Interesting thought there, and I appreciate the insight. Now, look, there's this thing right now that the Democrats in Michigan put through. And the liberal-controlled Supreme Court just made a ruling where it's essentially, and this is a whole rabbit hole, and it's not Second Amendment related, so I'm going to skip past tons of stuff, but there's a lot to this. If you live in Michigan and you get tips, okay? Trump said no tax on tips. Now Kamala says no tax on tips. I don't know that any president can actually, like, change that without Congress acting, but hey, we'll see. Whatever. I've heard both of them lie flagrantly on stage enough times to where I'm just saying whatever. But let's get back to the topic. She's more whatever than Trump is, guys. Relax. Like, she is worse. Okay, of course she's worse. I ain't happy with none of them though. But look, in Michigan, screwed no tax on tips. They're literally going to have all tips are going to be eliminated in this state soon. And bureaucrats and bureaucrats and more bureaucrats. That's those Heather swarms that the Declaration of Independence grieved about at that time and warned us about. They warned us about the Heather swarms of government agencies and bureaucrats. But here we are on the federal level, on the state level, right? What's up, Lucky Dog? What's up, Dang Old Matt and G23? Gort, nice to see you guys. But look, they're going to take like the server minimum wage and the tipped wage earners minimum wage, and they're going to bump that right up there to the point where most of them are going to lose their jobs and people aren't going to be able to tip anymore, because instead of leaving a tip that you wanted to leave, maybe it was 10% if it was barely adequate, 15% if it was adequate, maybe 20, 25%. You might throw down for a tip. Some of you might throw down a 50% tip. Some of you guys have tipped the heck out of this stream tonight. And I really appreciate you guys that do. But look, they're going to make it where all your food costs 25% more in Michigan. Okay. And probably a quarter of all the restaurants are going to go out of business, and they're going to have to lay off a quarter of their employees. And then you won't tip anymore. So they're getting rid of tips de facto. They're going to ban tips in Michigan. Look into it. Okay. So you know what happened is people got pissed off about that. Now look, do you have the right to not be treated like a slave? Of course you do. And well, that's why the 13th Amendment that abolished slavery so-called is terrible, because it didn't abolish slavery. It makes it where everybody can become a slave if you're locked up. And then when we started having compulsory income tax, which like literally would have not been allowed by the founding fathers, but by the time the 19 teens had arrived, we had a Federal Reserve printing fake fiat currency. We started putting in a national income tax, and basically we're all slaves. We just have to purchase our freedom a little bit at a time, because if you don't pay the piper, then you can be enslaved actually if you're locked up. Literally, if you don't believe me, go read the 13th Amendment. Okay. Yeah, got rid of the plantation slave. It may have gotten rid of the house slave in some instances, but here's the thing. There's more of those types of slaves worldwide now than there ever was then. We have such major human trafficking issues across the borders right now. It's insane. Are people getting treated better than back then? Probably not, actually. And it's really ugly and it's really sad. But the 13th Amendment didn't get rid of slavery. It made it where everybody's potentially a slave, with taxes that would have never been allowed in the United States of America if it was founded. So with that said, yeah, it's crazy. It's so much more than just the Second Amendment. But the Second Amendment was put there not for if, but for when. They come for all the rest, and they've pretty much taken almost all the rest. But back to the tipped wage earners. They're so ticked off right now that they're going to lose their tips. And that they're going to have to work for like $12 an hour, when basically like the lowest paid waitress I've ever talked to still makes more than $12 an hour on average. Some of them make many times more than that. There's people that make six figures as tipped caddies, servers, cab drivers, right? Just all these different ways that you get tips, right? Now you guys will still be able to tip me and leave super chats if the channel's still around. Then, you know, it's tough to keep going, but if it's going still, because like I'm considered an independent contractor, right, by doing this. But if you work for somebody, tips are going to be gone in this state. Now, here's the crazy part. I don't see a Second Amendment or a Third Amendment to the United States Constitution that says, in order to make a proper income, the right to earn tips shall not be infringed. That's actually not on the Bill of Rights at all. Okay. Now, does somebody have the right to not be enslaved and actually earn a wage? Of course. Okay. Do I believe in capitalism? Yes, but not crony capitalism, not oligarchy capitalism, not the type of really, really big government picks winners and losers, fake capitalism that we have now in this country. Because that whole thing, and I get so tired of saying it, YouTube can do whatever they want because I'm a capitalist, because they're their own company. Bullcrap. First of all, they're covered by Section 230, okay, of federal law, which means they're now in there with the government. And once you create a holy, unholy alliance with the government, and once you've been made too big to fail, and once you're giving marching orders to the government for all these big tech sites and all these other big companies like this, right? That's no longer, I'm a pure capitalist. They can do what they want. No, it's called an oligarchy. It's called fascism. It's called an unholy alliance between powerful brokers of power, meaning the big businesses, meaning the government. And I just repeated myself. And look up the different East India trading companies, because literally, like, this is all the same thing all over again. Look at what was going on with spices. Look at what was going on with spices. How many troops they were willing to send, how many people had to die to keep certain big businesses going back then. And look at right now, how many rights they're willing to trample and how much they're willing to put their boot on our neck with, again, unholy alliances between businesses that are too big to fail and government. So, yeah, I get sick and tired when people say, well, I believe in purist capitalism. Excuse me, 2AEDU. Google's a private corporation. They can do whatever they want. Nah. Bullcrap. I don't buy it for a minute. And if I got somebody really mad by saying all that, because I know it's very popular to say if you're going to be a good conservative in this world. I'm not even a good conservative. I just like the Constitution. I'm sick of this blue versus red crap. I'm not a Republican. I don't even want to call myself a conservative anymore. Now, I do believe in conserving the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence. I believe in all of that. And sorry, guys, I love all my libertarian friends, but I don't want to be that either, actually. I just want a country that's decent. Like, decent. It's never going to be perfect, but just one that's a little bit decent, right? A country like, the United States of America. 1776, 1788, 89, 1791, that type of, that's what I want, whatever that is. I guess I'll just consider myself a 1788/91er. I don't know, like that doesn't even make any sense. But look, but I can't really, it's hard for me to call myself a conservative much longer, because to be a good little conservative, I have to say it's perfectly all right. It's all right that Facebook and these big tech oligarchies colluding with Section 230 protection under United States Code, I'm perfectly fine. They're a private company. It's perfectly fine that they collude, that they have more like government agents working in parts of their company than they do employees, to be a good little conservative and a good little Republican and go for the whole team red. I have to agree that that's all great. And I don't agree that that's great actually at all. It's terrible. And the thing is, none of this even needs to be that complicated. Anyone with any kind of moral compass at all, you know it when you see it. It's either good or it's evil. And it's either good or it's evil. And that's all it's ever been. But look, there is no Second or Third Amendment that protects tips. Although I just said, humans have rights and you should be decent to other humans because we've all been endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. And I believe greed is very sinful. And I believe taking advantage of people is just wrong. And if people just thought like that, we wouldn't need like any laws at all, obviously. We'd have the United States of America, They fill up that whole Capitol steps, and you guys can look at pictures. All the waitresses, waiters, tip earners, generally. They have that whole Capitol front lawn the day before yesterday filled up. Did you guys know that? Like, they're so mad about losing their tips that they're going to lose their tips because of what the Democrats did and are doing currently to them right now. Okay. Whether you guys like giving tips to people or not, hey, that's up to you. That's a totally separate topic, though. That's not even what I'm getting at. Tip earners in Michigan, I'll just call them waitresses for lack of a better word, but it's so much more than that. So much more than that. We have bellhops. We have hairdressers. Just so many people work, and a good portion of their income is tips. They fill up the whole Capitol. Thousands of them were there by the pictures. I remember when they were trying to repeal right to work in Michigan. Thousands, if not 10,000 people showed up to Lansing, Michigan. Took the whole building over, the whole lawn. The rotunda, it's called. It's different layers, levels, of stairs. You go up, elevators, stairs. It's all a big circle in the Michigan Capitol. They were filling up multiple floors. They had the lobby filled up with like thousands and thousands of lobbyists of them. The unions, okay? The tragedy happens at Michigan State. They fill up again. Just repeat yourself. Thousands and thousands. More than you could even count. More than I could even count. And that's saying something, right? Because I know how to count a little bit. Completely filled up. We had a Second Amendment rally yesterday. And there was, I want to be generous. I don't want to undersell it. I really don't. If there was 200 people there, I think I'd be exaggerating a little bit. Meaning I think there were less than that. What do you think, Jane? Or whoever else was there? I posted a YouTube community post. I posted it also on X, over on Locals, Myriad Social. Posted it everywhere. Facebook. It's crazy, man. Like, I went out there to a Second Amendment rally, like literally like out there, like, doing stuff, right, Shane? And like being there and like touching grass and shaking people's hands and stuff. Least popular post I've posted on YouTube for weeks. It's like so unpopular now. Who cares about the Second Amendment anymore? That's what the title says. I don't know. And you tell me. The only thing more unpopular about going to a 2A rally is telling people you went. Oh. Oh, yeah, like Jane said, it was a melee. It was a melee out there on the lawn, like when the unions were there. Like, this gets to be, these are not mostly, these are, hold on, mostly peaceful, they call them. These are the mostly peaceful protesters, if you know what I mean. There were some legislators there. I saw my state senator, Joe Bellino. I should have taken more pictures. I just get to talking to people and have good conversations. And I forget I should be taking more pictures to make myself more unpopular and lose more subs, because people get mad. Like the more pictures you post, you're at a 2A rally. Not you guys, just people in general. They get mad. Like the more boots on the ground you are, the more mad some people get. I don't know why. It just is what it is. But look, my Senator Joe Bellino was up there. It was funny. Listen to this. Here's a funny story. So the one speaker was just getting ready to start, and he was coming through out of the building. I assumed he was in the Senate chambers, right, in the Capitol building. He comes out. He sees me immediately. Hey, what's up, babe? He says, now look, if you're out in public in an area where there's a couple hundred people, would your state rep and senator like recognize your face enough to walk up to you? If they don't, maybe get more involved. But he recognized me because I've been involved. And he comes right up to me. Hey, babe, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. Well, right as he does this, another senator, a Democrat senator walks by. And you can't make this up, right? This is why a lot of people like Joe. Joe looks at her and he goes, hey, wait, where are you going? She's walking as fast as she can, okay? Fast as she can right through 2 minutes to midnight. It's 1 minute to midnight. Not literally, guys. I'm just saying. I saw a comment in the chat there. But look, this Democrat senator, she's walking through. She's a real beauty, trust me. And when we say real beauty sometimes on this channel, we mean in a different kind of way, if you know what I mean. These are not attractive people. It's just true. They're not. But look, these anti-gunners aren't. But she comes through and he goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. He's like, where are you going? He goes, aren't you going to go up there and speak to the people? Now, this is a senator that just got done saying we haven't passed enough gun control. We need to pass more. And he kind of puts her on the spot. He's like, aren't you going to go up and talk? She goes, nope. She goes, but I'm carrying like I always am. I'm like, isn't that cute? Isn't that interesting? See, look, they made the Capitol building a gun-free zone in Michigan. Weapons-free zone. It's not just guns. It's knives. It's everything. If you have the wrong look on your face, you're banned. There goes petitioning your government for a redress of grievance. There goes watching the political process, right? So wait a minute. So to exercise my First Amendment protected right, I have to yield my Second Amendment protected right? Yeah, actually, according to the Capitol Commission and the Attorney General in Michigan, yeah, actually, and the legislators that voted for the budget that funded all of this crap, including Republicans. Yeah, it's true, actually. A lot of Republicans, actually, that voted to fund all of that Capitol ban. I'll tell you who they all are, but I have before, and we will again if I need to. But I expire this stream just naming all of them. That's how disenchanted and disenfranchised a lot of 2A supporters are right now. But yeah, she did the same thing as Kim. Oh, I'm carrying still. Of course she is. She's exempted. Legislators are exempted. Did you know that? If you're a representative or a senator, you can carry in that Capitol building. Now, these people are supposed to work for us. Could you imagine that? Walking up to your boss at work and saying, boss, I'm allowed to drink all the coffee out of your coffee pot that you paid for, but you're not allowed to have any? Now coffee is a big deal. And if you want to save big money, buy 2, get 1 free deal. Check the link in the code down in the description. That's a big deal, Blackout Coffee. And it's an addiction for many of us. So this is a big deal. But coffee's not even as big of a deal as the Second Amendment. Now, you should support Blackout Coffee and buy their coffee using my link. It's a win-win. They're a Second Amendment supporting company, and this is a Second Amendment supporting channel, and you'll literally support both and get buy 2, get 1 free. But I digress. Could you imagine your employees, because these people all work for us, every last one of them. They're supposed to be called public servant. I hate the word politician. I don't even like the word legislator. Public servant is what they are, every last one of them. From very local government all the way up to the president of the United States and everywhere in between. If they're on the taxpayer dole, they're a public servant and they work for you. But they can carry and we can't. Now, why is there thousands of people who show up for their union? And shout out to all the Second Amendment supporting union members. I'm not making it about that. I'm just asking a question. I know many, many good people that are in unions. That's not my bone to pick right now. But look. Why is it that thousands, if not tens of thousands, will show up for the union, and when they're not getting what they want, they'll scrap? Like Jane was saying, it was a melee on the front lawn of that Capitol building. Like, literally, people going to visit. They attacked Steven Crowder out in the front of the Capitol building. I'm not saying everyone in the union's that way. I hope we're all mature to know what I'm talking about here. But look, they came in and they literally were going to tear the whole building down, and everybody knew it. And guess what's happened? The unions got their way. Second Amendment supporters never did any of that to anybody. We're not getting our way. They're passing sweeping gun control in Michigan right now. Mainly Democrats. All Democrats have voted for every gun control bill. And then we had about 5 Republicans, including the minority leader, Matt Hall, that voted for gun control in Michigan. And some of these legislators still want to know why they're in the minority? Give me a break. Not the good ones in Michigan that are fighting the good fight. But you want to know why you have a minority leader? Because your minority leader voted against the Second Amendment. And it's just true. And I told people that yesterday. Now, I'm not saying every Michigan public servant is like that. I'm not saying all of these legislators are like that. But I'll tell you what. They hire all these expensive consultants. Thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, 100,000. It's like, you just say the sentence and it's like, duh. The Republican minority leader, meaning the Democrats have a 2-seat majority, voted for gun control. And so why aren't Second Amendment supporters voting? I don't know. Is it because of that, or is it because of this? Is it because they're all too lazy to vote? Or are they all too pissed off to vote? I don't know. Every state has its own dynamics. And look, I'm not trying to say anything mean to Michigan minority leader Matt Hall. I want the man to change his ways and realize that you can't be a Republican leader and still vote for gun control. I'm actually trying to affect positive change when I go off on these rants. That's like literally my goal. I promise you that. We had less than 200 people at a Second Amendment rally. The tipped employees, again, I don't know if it was 1,000 or 2,000, but it was thousands. The students, the union workers. Dude, it could be a cause literally. You could literally say, we're hosting the Sky is Blue rally at the Michigan Capitol, and there'll be a couple thousand people there. No, I'm not even joking. You could say up is up and down is down. You could have the earth is flat rally, and it would fill up with a couple thousand people. You could have the earth is round rally. It would end up with like 4,000 people, because then the flat earthers and the round earthers would be arguing with each other. You know what I mean? We had no counter protesters at the 2A rally, like at all. Like literally not even one. When there's so few people at your rally that you don't even have counter protesters, that tells you something. That tells you something. Look, guys. Michigan's one of the most swing states in the whole country right now with the Electoral College, with all of that. Also, Michigan's one of the most swing states with its state legislature. The Democrats have taken a narrow 2-seat majority in the House and Senate after Republicans have controlled all of it for like almost 40 years. There has to be more money in the gun industry than this. There has to be more boots on the ground people than this. So where you take a state, and I know all of you don't live in Michigan, but think about your states and what's going on and what's happening in your states. And shout out to all of you that are making positive change by filling the lawn of your capital up with thousands or tens of thousands of people, because I know some of you guys have had great victories. But man, NRA was there. Okay, NRA was there. I saw him talking to some state reps, the lobbyists for the NRA. But my problem with those guys is those are not real activists, okay? Shout out to all the good members of the NRA. I'm a life member myself, but these guys there's a lot of subject matter there. I don't think I need to get into that. Gun Owners of America wasn't there. FPC, FPF wasn't there that I know of. Great Lakes Gun Rights was there. I sat and talked to my friend Brendan Boudreaux, who runs Great Lakes Gun Rights. He leads it / runs pretty much the whole thing by himself because there's such a lack of support in members, which I do recommend joining, by the way, if you live in Michigan. It's called Great Lakes Gun Rights. But he was there. He was there trying to sign up memberships and passing out literature. And I've seen him there and not signing up memberships too. I've watched him go around with a wagon with petitions from his members and walking into legislators' offices and saying, yeah, I've got 5,000 people from your district right here that are going to be pretty pissed off if you vote for gun control. Public servant so-and-so. What's up, Lori DeVries? It's kind of weird. That's why I'm asking. Maybe some of you guys can give me this answer. Who cares about the 2A anymore? And I don't mean like that, oh, well, who cares? Like, I obviously care. I'm here right now. I know you guys care because you're here hanging out right now. But it's like, see, we have a situation where you'll literally like never see it. I'm talking about the state of Michigan right now. I think most states operate this way for the most part. States can be different when it comes to local, but look, in Michigan, every Democrat votes for gun control every time. And then most of the Republicans vote against gun control. But some of the Republicans still vote for gun control. That's tough. How can you be in the minority and the Republican Party can't even stand in lockstep and vote against all these gun control bills? But there was some good 2A supporter. I like to call them, again, public servants because they serve us. They serve at the pleasure of we the people, right? They should very humbly serve, and most of them do on the local level, at least the ones that I'm friends with that are Second Amendment supporters, right? I'm not saying all of them on the state level. I'm saying we do have some good ones in the Michigan House and Michigan Senate. I don't want you guys all to be black-pilled and think they're all terrible, but it can take you a while to sift through, though, and find the good ones because there's some compromisers, there's some outright bad ones, and then there's some of them that have been pretty honest on the Second Amendment, and they've just gone in there and done their job and voted no, and then they've introduced bills to repeal. That's what they need to do. Vote no on anything that infringes, and then vote yes on things that repeal prior infringements. It's like super, super simple. Trust me, I'm not going to become a pollster or any of this, but man, I could just sit back and be like, guys, some of these answers are like a lot easier to see than some people think they are, but whatever. But yeah, Senator Joe Bellino was there. Representative Angela Regas was there, and she spoke, hung out with her. Representative Jamie Green, who I'm pictured with in one of the pictures on my community post, she was there hanging out. Representative Phil Green, spelled different, actually, different spellings of Green, not related. He spoke. He didn't seem to have much time to talk, so I didn't get a chance to talk to him, but I saw him there. We had Michigan Representative Jim DeSanta, which I talked to him quite a bit. I mentioned part of our conversation earlier today, or his conversation / mine, right? Michigan Representative Timmy Beeson was there. Talked to him for a few minutes. Had a good talk with Michigan Representative Jay DeBoyer. Okay, I'm just mentioning names, so some of you guys, maybe if they're the rep in your district, you might want to get behind them a little bit because they're out there. And actually, look, the Democrats canceled session that day. So these were people that literally came all the way into Lansing to go to the rally, all right? Now, there were some people that wanted to be there, that told me they wanted to be there, that were legislators, and they didn't get notified in time, and there was, sometimes stuff just happens, unfortunately. They were fighting for the Second Amendment and other important issues in other places. I didn't have anybody say, but I only had a couple people say that they really, really wanted to be there. They just didn't know about it. Now, that's another thing. You're having a rally and all the legislators don't know about it. Well, but they were supposed to be in session, though, so then they would all know about it when they walked from the one office building to the other. So it's kind of a circular thought. But then the Dems, every time they know there's a 2A rally, they cancel session, so you're not out there in front of everybody, right? So that whole thing's kind of a catch-22. Trust me. You don't really need to tell the reps you're having it because you're having it while they're scheduled to be in session, right? So I can see where you don't necessarily tell all the reps, but then at the last second they cancel session. Now some of them don't know. I don't know what the answer is to that. Okay. But I did have a couple reps tell me they sincerely, like, it actually got one of them mad, they told me, because they wanted to be there so bad. But they literally didn't find out about it till like the last minute. Let me think if I'm missing any other reps that were there. I think I told you there were about 5 or 6. Now, there could have been another senator I didn't see. There could have been another representative I didn't see. But, yeah. Maybe you should make it so if you don't vote, you can't get a hunting license. That might get the sportsmen, sportswomen to the voting booth. Interesting. I don't know how they vote, though. That's the thing, man. Look at Kamala owns a gun, right? Trump's running around right now telling everybody it was an AK that almost got him. They've had 2 pick-off attempts on him in the last week, plus possibly more, or a couple months, I'm sorry. But in the last week, there's been allegedly maybe chemicals. And look, this is a whole crazy debacle, too, going on. But Trump says it was an AK. I saw the picture, allegedly the picture. I'm just going to say that, allegedly. And it was an SKS, okay? Every time he says anything about guns, he says, I don't know anything about guns at all, but my sons do. He literally says it in every speech. Kamala says, I own a gun, and you come in my house, you're going to get shot. You break in my house, you're going to get shot, she says. I've never heard Trump say that. Now, look, she's worse, I'm sure, than he is. I'm not saying that, but, like, if you just go on, like, talking points, she actually has what some people are seeing as more pro-Second Amendment talking points than Trump. I'm not saying I believe that. I'm not saying you believe that. But trust me, there's a lot of people out there, okay? There's people that, I mean, just think about it. The Republican says, I know nothing about my guns, but my sons do. Quotes wrong guns for all this stuff. And then she says, no, I know guns and I own, and I'll, now look, I'm not saying to believe her. I'm just saying, think about how the average NPC thinks, okay? You know what I mean? Here's an interesting topic. Kamala literally wants to confiscate your guns. No questions asked. We could talk to her blue in the face about how anti-2A the Democrat Party is, and they are. Like, they are. But I said I don't like the blue or the red. Here's the problem, man. The 2024 GOP platform barely even mentions the Second Amendment. Here's this article from Reason magazine by Jacob Sullum. I'm going to read a little bit of this article. I've talked about this before. The party's neglect of the issue is consistent with its domination by Donald Trump, who pays lip service to the Second Amendment, but has never been a true believer. I know in his book that I read years ago, he had previously supported assault weapons bans. But let's talk about the Republican Party's platform for a second. The 2016 Republican Party platform, which condemned Democrats for proposing laws that would, quote, eviscerate the Second Amendment, devoted 3 paragraphs to gun rights. So if you notice this, and this is just the way it is with politicians, most politicians will just bag on what the other guy's doing wrong rather than promise you or give you hope for something that they're going to do right. See, that's a good start if you have a public servant, a legislator, they like to be called. Public servant, right? That some of them like to be called public servant, actually. And if you meet one that likes to be called that, you probably have a good one and you should probably have their back. I'm being serious, too. Not many of them like that, but some of them actually do. Just to make it clear. But look, a lot of them, they'll say, well, I'll vote against any gun control. Okay. But that's not enough. It's like you vote against any and all gun control, and then you need to repeal the gun control that's on the books. But mainly what you'll see a lot of Republicans do, not all, but many, is they'll come out and say, the Democrats want to take your guns. Elect me, I won't take your guns. The Democrat wants to do this bad. Elect me, and I won't that bad. Now, Democrats do it vice versa. I'm just talking about with the Second Amendment here. So you go back to 2016, and they spent tons of time talking about how the Democrats would eviscerate, and then they devoted 3 paragraphs to gun rights. The 2020 platform did not discuss the subject at all because there was no 2020 platform. Why should you vote for us? We don't know. We just don't have a platform at all. Where am I? What's going on? Nobody knows. That was the Republicans in 2020. I'm just saying, guys, this is where this gets tough. There might be some insight of why we find ourselves in the shape we're in, you know? By the way, shout out to all the good people that are Republicans out there. Most of my friends happen to be. I'm just saying, though. I mean, you look at this and it's like the 2020 platform did not discuss. The party instead promised to, quote, enthusiastically support the president's American First agenda. This time around, the Republican National Committee, RNC, did approve a platform. Now, this is a guy that's talking about the other article on this same site that I had read like a few weeks ago. So this isn't the same article, but they touch on the same subject. But I'm sorry, a different magazine. But the Reload's Jake Fogelman notes the RNC has excised any mention of the Second Amendment except for a passing reference. The reference appears, this is for the 2024 Republican National Committee's platform. You elect us, this is what we'll live and die by, right? That's the platform. Or whatever, right? The reference appears in a list of, quote, 20 promises that we will accomplish very quickly when we win the White House. And Republican majorities in the House and Senate. The 7th promise says Republicans will, and here's quote, get ready for this or you guys might miss it. This is how much the whole Republican Party nationally dedicated to your Second Amendment. Defend our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and our fundamental freedoms, including freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and the right to keep and bear arms. But they didn't even list the shall not be infringed part. This is why so many people aren't voting. I'm telling you guys. It might be people being lazy, but dang it. I'm so ticked off, I don't even want to go vote. And like most of this pep talk was you guys need to get engaged and get out there and vote and do something because you have to do something. You have to try. Ugh. Like, I don't even want to vote anymore after I read this crap, but I'm going to. Okay, I'm just saying. But I understand. I mean, so they're here to tell me the whole Republicans platform doesn't even have the word shall not be infringed in it. Are you kidding me right now? 4 small words. No, that's too much to ask. That reference appears. Yeah, I already read that. The cursory treatment of the Second Amendment is consistent with the reality that the current Republican Party wants whatever former President Donald Trump wants, despite his lip service to the right of armed self-defense. Trump has never been a true believer. This is according to this author. I want your opinion on this. As his flirtation with the Democrat gun control agenda after the October 2017 mass shooting in Las Vegas illustrated. In addition to imposing a unilateral ban on bump stocks that was recently overturned by the Supreme Court, Trump met with members of Congress in February 2018 to discuss gun regulation. During the meeting, he spoke favorably of requiring background checks for all gun transfers, raising the minimum age for buying long guns, preemptively confiscating guns from people who might be dangerous, and even banning so-called assault weapons to the visible delight of Senator Dianne Feinstein, now deceased. You guys remember all that? I do, actually. I do, unfortunately. Trump's receptiveness to those ideas dismayed the NRA. Wait a minute. The NRA said to ban bump stocks, but it looked like a reversion to his actual opinions. In the 2000 book, The America We Deserve, he staked out a middle ground on gun control between the extremes of the 2 major political parties. And here's some quotes from Trump. Democrats want to confiscate all guns, which is a dumb idea because only the law-abiding citizens would turn in their guns, and the bad guys would be the only ones left armed, Trump wrote. I completely agree with that, by the way. I completely agree with that. See what else he says. Or he said. Quote, the Republicans walked the NRA line and refused even limited restrictions. Ooh, wait a minute. I don't like where this is heading. By contrast, he said, quote, I generally oppose gun control, but, oh, man. I was starting to like whoever this guy is that's running for president before I saw that. All right, let's read it. I generally oppose gun control, comma, but I support the ban on assault weapons. Whoa, and I also support a slightly longer waiting period to purchase a gun. But he's changed, it says. So I'm going to read this rest of this article just to see what you all think. I'm not telling anyone to vote for Kamala. I'm not telling you to vote for Trump. I just want to get this out there because this might help us answer the question. By 2011, when Trump toyed with the idea of seeking the Republican presidential nomination, he was flatly declaring that, quote, I am against gun control. 2 years later, he described himself as, quote, a very strong person on the Second Amendment. Trump staked out a similar position in the 2016 race, calling himself, quote, a big Second Amendment person. So this is good if people can change, but hold on. But, comma, right, like they all say, in contrast with President Barack Hussein Obama, right, a non-Second Amendment person, asked whether he supported new gun laws to prevent mass shootings. He replied, quote, the gun laws have nothing to do with this. This isn't guns. This is really about mental illness. Okay, that sounds pretty good, actually. Were there, quote, any circumstances in which Trump would favor limiting gun sales of any kind in America? A moderator asked during the 2016 debate. Trump's response was an unqualified no, which that's awesome. In reality, Trump did not support some forms of gun control. Did. In reality, Trump did support some forms of gun control. Okay, so this is getting to when he was in actual office, including red flag laws and a ban on firearms possession by people on a no-fly list. As president, he went so far as to say that the police should take the guns first, quote, and, quote, go through due process second. Ooh, when they think someone is dangerous. When they think, wow, that's red flag laws. Before he secured the 2016 Republican presidential nomination, in his 2016 book, Great Again, How to Fix Our Crippled America, Trump, or his ghostwriter, waxed eloquent about the importance of the Second Amendment. Okay. And we've heard lots of eloquently good things about it, too, from him, obviously. There's a couple quotes here. Now I'm going to go on. Trump went on like that for a couple pages. The platform approved by the Trump administration, the Trump-dominated GOP, manages just 7 words. But if gun rights supporters were unhappy about that, they can hardly expect anything better from the Democrats. See? So again, I get it, guys. Democrats are very bad. In 2016, Democrats erased the Second Amendment from their platform, reverting to the approach they took in 2000 and earlier. The 2016 platform mentioned the rights of responsible gun owners, but said nothing about the extent of those rights or the legal basis for them. This is the Democrat platform. The 2020 platform, likewise, did not mention the Second Amendment. It did not even mention the, quote, rights of responsible gun owners, but it did include 2 paragraphs of gun control proposals aimed at ending the epidemic of gun violence. All right, this article is almost over. Like abortion opponents, Second Amendment advocates probably will feel they have no option but to support a Republican candidate who seems wishy-washy on their issues, but is better than the alternative. And I think a lot of you are typing as fast as you can. That's probably the boat that almost all of my viewers are in. Look, this author saying some stuff that people aren't going to like. But again, I like to read this stuff because this is pretty fair. It's talking about both sides, Quote, the Republican Party platform's downplaying of the Second Amendment issues comes as the gun rights movement finds itself in a precarious position politically, Fogelman writes. As guns have become increasingly polarized among party lines, gun rights supporters have found themselves reliant on Republicans for political support. Former vice president, I would correct, Joe Biden has made gun control a fixture of his tenure in office and is already campaigning on even more sweeping proposals. Now, this is before he had dropped out of the race. Well, they didn't really drop out. We literally watched the coup happen. Kamala didn't get voted on by anybody, including a ban on the sale of the popular AR-15 and a potential second term. At the same time, while the GOP's current standard bearer has continued to seek the support of the NRA and make promises and speeches to the group, he has been fickle on gun policy at times. Trump is not the only candidate in this race whose views on gun control have changed with political wins. As a senator in 1985, speaking in favor of the Firearms Owners Protection Act, Biden sounded like Trump circa 2000. Quote, this is Biden here. This is crazy. I believe the compromises that are now a part of this bill have resulted in a balanced piece of legislation that protects the rights of private gun owners while not infringing on law enforcement's ability to deal with those who misuse guns or violent laws. Biden said, quote, during my 12 and a half years as a member of this body, geez, he has been in office for 100 years. Wow. I have never believed that additional gun control or federal registration of guns would reduce crime. I am convinced that a criminal who wants a firearm can get one through illegal, non-traceable, unregistered sources with or without gun control. That is literally what Joe Biden said in 1985, which is almost identical to what Trump wrote in his book in 2020. Isn't that crazy? What's happening, QD? Did that package arrive yet? I hope it did. The hologram of Biden is what I'm referring to. I'm referring to his hologram. Patrick follows with another super chat. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Channel member. He says, 2A EDU. Dominoes, man. Dominoes. They tip the second, and like dominoes, they will topple the others. 2A is the key to the others. Disarm, then take over. Yeah, man. I completely agree. That's why I've talked about it so many times. We're definitely on the same page. Look, I love the whole Bill of Rights. But I love the Second Amendment just a little bit more because it's there for, not if, they're literally doing it right now, but for when they come for all the rest. So I agree. We can't let them tip that domino. Ace McLean, member for 5 months, says, love your videos, bro. Well, thank you. I appreciate the encouragement. Channel member for 5 months. Nice. Chris Gilbert with a generous $20 super chat. Thank you. He says, thanks again to AEDU for making us think about where do we really stand. Love at Red's comment about whether we want to live by rights or by rules. It's an interesting concept. I hope you guys had some interesting discussion about that topic because, man, it's like, do you blame the government or do you blame we the people? Now, I'm not saying me and you are going to blame each other, Chris. Don't blame QD or Ace McLean or Patrick Fellers or all these good people. Like, look, there's a lot of us that totally get it, man, right? But when I say we the people collectively, are we the problem? Is the government the problem? Is everyone living in this country excellent Americans right now? And we just so happen to cross this government that's screwing us in so many ways? Or do we sometimes get what we deserve? I don't know. QD, channel member for 20 months. Thank you. Thank you for being such a generous supporter of the channel. I really appreciate you, man. Former President Jill Biden. Ooh, wait a minute now. I thought for sure, dude, like I knew the current former vice president. I thought Dr. Jill and them were all going to get together. And if he did have to take a bow out, look, these people are crazy. Just think about this for a minute. We're literally like, it's just a race right towards the bottom. That old toilet bowl is just flushing and spinning around in a circle at this point with some of these. Look, do you guys remember Bernie? Not a Bernie fan at all, by the way. I'm not a Bernie Sanders fan. He literally got rigged twice in a row. He never had a chance. 2016, 2020. The Democrats literally just had a coup. I thought they were going to install what they call Big Mike. You guys know who I'm talking about? Big Mike. Lots of questions about that. Lots of questions about that. But this is a family-friendly channel. You know, isn't it sad that you can't even talk about politicians that either currently do or have lived in the White House? Just think about this. You can't even talk about their lifestyles while keeping a family-friendly channel. Wow, that's pretty profound. I'm like, well, you know what they say about, they call her Big Mike, if you know what I mean, right? Used to live in the White House. Yeah. Like, whoa. If you even start, I can't even really tell any stories about most of these people that have lived in the White House, or this channel would instantly become not family friendly. And I don't want that. I don't want that. So we're not going to go there. Patrick Fowlers, member for 6 months. Thank you for being a member so long. He says 2A EDU. The second is the only constitutional failsafe. Well, yeah, we're supposed to have internal and external checks on government. That's what the Federalist Papers say, literally. And that would be with an internal check on government. The external check is supposed to be for we the people. We the people are supposed to be the external check on a tyrannical government. And that's literally found in the Federalist Papers, where the founders talked about why we would literally have a government at all. Good to see you here, QD. All your chats seem to be coming in good from what I see. No, I'm just making a joke that you can't even talk about some of these people. Yeah, like Red says, don't Google about the back seats and limousines. He said, don't do it. Don't Google it, right? No, like, I mean, this is serious stuff, though. Dr. Jill Biden. Can you believe this? You're living in a country with some doctor. Where are you living right now, actually? It's kind of interesting. It's interesting how United States senators are elected. It's interesting that we have an income tax. It's interesting. A lot of stuff is. Lyle Smith. Yeah, good point, man. Talking about Cambodia. Cambodia established gun control in 1956, and from 1975 to 1977, 1 million people unable to defend themselves were exterminated. That's so sad. You think about people like that, and Mao. Yeah, it's crazy. Some good chat. I am looking forward to reading all of this later on, by the way. Who else is in here? I'm going to jump off in just a minute. Say hi to a couple of you guys on the way out. Yeah, that's what I always say in my streams, right, Lori? That's why I love the Second Amendment so much. It tells you why, like right in the beginning, being necessary to the security of a free state. It's true. What do you think's going on, Jane? I'll read your chats in a little bit. I see some more member super chats pouring in here. Hey, look, make sure you guys are following me on that site that's like green and it rhymes with fumble. Make sure you're also following me on Locals, Myriad Social. I'm going to be streaming over on those other places tomorrow night. So make sure you check that out. Make sure you check the link in the description for that buy two, get one free blackout coffee. That's an excellent deal. Locals is a place where I post good deals every day. Myriad Social is real easy to go to, guys. Like, I'm being dead serious. Real easy. And I'd like to see a site like that get off the ground and get growing, because there's just so much censorship everywhere nowadays with the government and the big tech and all that. And I like it that there's ambitious people out there actually creating a social media site that's on the blockchain. They have a cool feature over there, actually. The link's in the description. Myriad Social. It'll take you right to my page. You'll see some good deals, events, pictures, other cool stuff. But look, you can take and import people's tweets, and it will actually like memorialize them there and from other sites. That way, if it gets deleted on the original place, then it's still there. Now, as much as you guys like X, look, I'm posting more and more over there. It's less worse under Elon, but that's all it is less worse. They whacked one of my posts. They whacked one of my posts for talking about the Second Amendment too much, I guess. I literally posted a deal on like some ammo. And they added, I posted the post showing you guys what they did. I mean, so yeah, some places are high censorship, some places are a little bit less, and then some places literally have none. You know, you break the law, you're going to have to deal with whatever investigations law enforcement's doing in your area. That's a given. Everything you do on the internet, right? But other than that, if you're not breaking the law, you're not breaking the terms of service. That's how some sites roll, and it's good to check out other options. Lucky Dog 350X, member for 15 months. Well, thank you. Says, long live the Republic. I agree. That's a good saying. Randy Smith, channel member for 13 months. Well, thank you. He says, thank you for all you do. God bless you, brother. Well, God bless you as well. And don't forget to hit that thumbs up button on the way out. Share on your social medias because, hey, man, here's how this works. You know, you say Trump or whatever Republican you're talking about is anything less than perfect, you're going to get some hate, you know, and I always do. I just wanted to throw it out there, though. It's like, man, people, I think you guys might have some good answers. I'll read what all of you said. Why is it that a lot of people aren't voting so much anymore, even though the Second Amendment's literally on the ballot, like literally more than it ever has been? And who even cares about the Second Amendment anymore? I hope this was a good topic tonight. I think we covered quite a bit. I had a good time talking to you all. That's for sure. What's happening, Pillbox Bunker? How you doing, man? Vince Metzger, nice to see you. Say hi to a couple good people real quick. If you guys don't mind, just want to say hi because there are some good people right now who I like. Coach Lamont. We have William Bader. Yeah, man. Look, you guys are from all over the place. Nice. I see Arizona. That's good. Keep up the good fight. I know you guys like your guns in Arizona. That's a good thing. 182Q, KFTW. Let's get ready to tumble. But you guys can go to that other site that rhymes with tumble. Make sure you subscribe because I do post streams and videos over there. Yes. Good night, Q. Do you take it easy, man, and keep up the good fight where you're at right now, man. I know Virginia's been a kind of back and forth. Keep doing the good work you guys are doing down there for sure. God bless you too, Red. Good night, man. Have a good weekend. Viva Libertad. It is a beautiful coin. I have a coin that somebody gave me, right, Red? That I do enjoy quite a bit. Libertad, I think we could say. I'm probably, sometimes with my vowels, you know, I mess it up a little bit. But I hope you guys think about this, and I hope you guys are having good conversations with each other and with all your friends, because this is important stuff. Good night, Laurie DeVries. Take it easy. Nice to see you. Nice to see you, ma'am. I'm used to always saying man so much, but ma'am, lady, right? Yeah, the Texas State Fair in Dallas is banning guns. No, that's true, guys. Look, it's all over this country right now. So pay attention, guys. Pay attention to local. Okay? Pay attention to local. And look, as much as I want you guys to focus on all of those that are subverting the Second Amendment, as much as I want all of you just to stay true and stay focused on what really matters, more than all of this colors and gang warfare, blue, red, all this kind of noise. Look, focus on the tyrants and make sure that they're out of office and you're electing good people. I would say you can do that on the local level. You can still be effective in many places, not everywhere, but in many places. You guys can actually affect the change there. And then this is something we forget about. And this isn't as cool as like, you got to vote out the ones that are bad. I know some places you guys live, it seems totally hopeless. I'm not making light of that, trust me. But I think a lot of my viewers live in places where you can make some change still on the local level. And even those of you that can't really do much, you still need to try to do something, okay? You still need to try your best. But I say you guys should also focus on getting behind the ones that are actually good. If you have a legislator, a public servant on any level that's actually wanting to not only defend the Second Amendment, but repeal controls, okay, and get the boot of the government off your neck, take the time to get behind those people, okay? Walk with them through the halls of your Capitol on the way to session. Talk to them, okay? Go to some of their events, whatever it is that you can do. We need to condemn the bad ones, but we can't forget to support the good ones. And I definitely appreciate you guys who are supporting the Second Amendment and those of you who are supporting this channel. And then we see this Timothy here. We're neighbors, okay? He's out of Brighton, Michigan. Howdy, neighbor. Nice to see you. The signed rookie card. Nice. Oh, man. It is a beautiful coin. Yeah, admonish. Harry Grimley, please name one in Minnesota that's good. I don't know, dude. Try to find one, man. I hope you can. I hope you can. Look, I want to give you guys a little bit of a white pill moment. Like, focus on the good too, though. You know what I mean? I kind of wanted to let you guys know there weren't many people at the 2A rally, but then I wanted to tell you guys about the good people that were at the 2A rally and how there were some representatives there. And one senator that I'm aware of, but there maybe was more, just that I saw that were actually there willing to come in on their day off, if you will. Not that they really have a day off, but you know what I mean? When they weren't in session to come to the rally. So I'd like to tell you guys about the good stuff too, because I don't want people like depressed. I'm Gabriel. I'm just jumping off, but nice to see you. Before I do, you've been a long time viewer of the channel as well, and nice to see you. And I'm not being sarcastic, Harry. Let me know, man. I don't know. I mean, I kind of see where you're heading with that, but I don't know. All right, guys. I am out of here, and I will see you guys on here next Friday. But I can see you on Locals and Rhymes with Fumble tomorrow night. And make sure that you go over and check out the awesome deals I'm posting on Locals and Myriad Social. It's okay to be a little black-pilled, Red. I didn't say that now, man. I did not too black-pilled. Look, the answer's somewhere in there. I don't know where the answer's at, actually, so. And if Crazy Heathen just jumped in the chat, I saw someone say hi to him, but I don't see him. Shout out, man, and it was cool hanging out with you and getting a cool picture yesterday. Okay, see, fun to learn says, I'm glad Happy Timmy Beeson was there. That's why I throw some of the names out there, because some of these are your representatives, right? There's a reason why I go here and let you guys know. Without God, you have no liberty. Black and white for sure. Wow, lots of wisdom in this chat tonight, for real. What's up, Lost in Space? All right, guys, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.